In today's society, media plays a crucial and powerful role in America. Millions of Americans consult various outlets such as the television, internet, radio, or newspaper for information. They form their opinions based on what these sources tell them. Recently, the integrity of journalism has been questioned by many citizens. In a recent Gallup poll, only 32% of Americans say they have a great deal or fair amount of trust in the media.
They're very hostile. These are very hostile people. These are very angry people.
But they also colluded against you in a campaign.
Yeah.
And my question to you
Well, they're
is...
very dishonest people. The media is very dishonest. I've been saying it. I say it openly.
I said journalism's dead, so we agree.
Never dead, but they're very dishonest people.
Correct. There is a vast gap between the media's perception of itself and the public perception of the media. The reason Trump keeps picking fights with the media is because it's a fight he can win. The American people don't actually trust the media at this point, mainly because the media seem like they're representing their own interests.
Media bias is a term used to describe prejudice in news and media reports in which it is perceived as an imbalanced or unfair presentation of facts or selective reporting of which events or facts are reported. Media bias is becoming a huge problem by misinforming citizens and affecting how they feel about important issues such as politics.
All right, Mom, do you think media bias has an effect on politics?
Yes, I do. I think a lot of the media just says what they want you to hear, and so people tend to believe everything they hear, especially if it's on the news or on TV.
All right, so do you think media bias affected the outcome of this year's election?
I don't know that it affected the outcome. I think it did a lot of damage, or it was pretty crazy. All of the stuff they were saying about him and all the stuff they were saying about her, and a lot of people would just automatically believe it without really having any facts to support it. And so, there was a point, I think, that everybody didn't want any of those people to be president. So I think it was really ugly and got pretty bad, but I don't know if it had any effect on who was going to, be president. I don't know.
Media bias plays a large role in political affairs, especially in recent elections. A poll done by the Quinnipiac University states that 55% of 1,007 likely voters believed that the media was biased against Trump, with 9 out of 10 Republicans supporting the claim and 3 out of 5 Democrats disagreeing with the notion. In weeks following the election, many articles have been written about Trump's coverage and whether it helped him win the primary. That was the focus of a report from Harvard Kennedy School's Shorenstein Center on Media, Politics, and Public Policy. The report shows that during the year 2015, major news outlets gave far more good press than bad press. The volume and tone of Trump's coverage helped propel him to become the Republican nominee.
All right, Dad, so do you think media bias has an effect on politics?
Yes, I think it does. Because whatever the media is giving you, the information they're giving you, and you receive it, it determines how you're going to vote or your opinions on the person that they're talking about. So I think it does have a lot of influence on people, the media.
All right, so do you think media bias affected the outcome of this year's election?
I think it did. A lot of people's opinions from the news media, all the little what he said, she said, was like a dang, schoolyard crap. So I think it did do a lot of damage.
I understand where you're coming from, and I understand there's a lack of trust in media, but people are certainly watching us, Brian, because if you add up the numbers of CBS, NBC, ABC, and CNN, there are millions of viewers, right?
Yeah, this is just the data for the nightly newscast. I tried to pick 6:30 p.m. because it's the best way to show who's tuning in every night. This is NBC, ABC, CBS, plus CNN at that hour, about 27 million on an average night.
So, Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Do you believe that the media is biased?
It depends on where you get your information from.
Where do you get your information from?
You should get it from a couple different sources. The most neutral news source I've found so far is called the Christian Science Monitor.
The Christian Science Monitor?
Yeah, I know the name kind of
implies
skews it one way or the other, but it's pretty good.
Okay, and what sources do you believe are most biased?
Most biased? On either end, I'd say on the left is probably MSNBC, and then on the right would be Fox News or Breitbart.
Okay. And Why do you think these sources are so biased?
Oh, sensationalism! Like they're cornering a market.
Yeah,
It's like people always want to hear things that they agree with.
Yeah.
So there's a niche for every political view on the spectrum. I feel like.
That's true, because the goal of these big sources is ultimately to make money. New sources will do this by claiming a demographic to which they can sell to. Matthew Gensko, a professor of economics at Stanford University, describes the media like ice cream. Gensko says, just as ice cream makers give customers the flavor they want, news companies will give the audience what they want. So do you think that the media had an effect on the 2016 election?
Oh, absolutely.
really touched me there.
How do you think it affected Clinton and Trump, the main two candidates?
I think it's hard to say, because it seems like there's only one really big conservative news outlet, which would be Fox News, or as opposed to the multitudes that skew left. But everyone on the right seems to veer towards Fox News, and so them just being able to say whatever they want and reaching the entire voting bloc of the Republican Party, I think had a huge impact in demonizing Hillary Clinton.
In a 2014 study conducted by the Pew Research Center, 47% of consistent conservatives said that their main source of news is Fox, whereas consistent liberals named an array of sources: 15% for CNN, 12% for NBC, 10% for the New York Times, and 13% for NPR. All right. And do you think that there's any way that we can solve the problem of media bias, or do you think that it's always going to be a problem that's there just because of the way people view?
You can choose what to watch. It's kind of like it's like voting with your viewership. If people stop watching news that is skewed one way or the other, that might help. But I think the best thing to do right now is just to find a balance, either have two news sources and find the middle ground, or try to find news that's as unbiased as possible.
Okay. And do you think it's been more of a problem recently, or do you think it's always sort of been there? Or do you think
there's always been skewed journalism, muckraking and yellow journalism like that, when newspapers first became a big thing. But now we get information all the time, every day. It's nonstop, continuous. So I feel like just in terms of quantity, we do have more.
And studies show that this election was not really different from previous ones. According to the Pew Research Center, during the 2000 presidential election, George Bush was twice as likely to get positive press than his opponent, Al Gore. In 1988, George H.W. Bush received significantly better coverage than Michael Dukakis.
Because we're absorbing more.
And that causes more articles to be sort of more polarized because people want to believe what they want to hear.
Yeah, it's like on on Facebook, people want to unfriend people they don't agree with, and so then you're only ever stuck with information or people that agree with you, and it's just kind of an echo chamber.
Okay. This describes the hostile media effect, which basically states that whenever people are engaged in an issue, they will see coverage as biased against them no matter what. People will also believe that their sources are more reliable than the opposing sides. When asked, 66% say news organizations are generally inaccurate, but when they are asked the same questions about their main source, the percentage dropped to only 30%. The problem of media bias is one that has been discussed by many over the years, and it is a topic that will seem to live on forever. As long as important issues cause people to polarize, news companies will claim these demographics in order to maximize their profits. What these organizations say will affect how their audience will feel on issues and elections. They'll become more powerful, being able to say anything to push their agenda. Today it's becoming increasingly harder to differentiate between what's real and what's fake. Ultimately, the solution to solving this problem does not lie with the media. Instead, it is up to the people to change how they view the issue and seek out the truth themselves.